y dos, y dos, una, y dos, una, y dos.
Hello and welcome to Cortesnyc Livestream, the podcast. This show broadcasts twice a week out of New York City. We are your hosts, Cortesnyc,
and Carla de Puerto Rico.
and on the show we talk about art, creativity, city life from a Latino perspective. I'm a visual artist,
And I'm a singer.
and this is episode 28, Sex Appeal.
As always, you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and Podbean, and also on social media on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and Instagram.
And don't forget, this month, June 24th, I will be at the Street Art Expo here in Astoria, Queens. For more information, go to streetartexpo.com. You can find me at the Artist Alley. I'll be sketching, signing, and selling original art, as well as launching my new merchandise. You can see some of my merchandise right now on cortesnyc.bigcartel.com. And let's get on with this. All right. Carla, you get ready to get romantic?
I'm always ready.
I'm always romantic. Ya iba a decir, soy latina, I'm always romantic.
No iba a decir eso,
Pues claro
but
que
I'm
sí.
always ready.
All right, so romanticism, and I think we're going to end up in eroticism as well, because when I started researching romantic art, good old Wikipedia threw me into romanticism, which is not necessarily that it's romantic art, what we consider romantic art, meaning, of a sexual nature or of a, partner type of nature, man and woman, even man and man, woman.
Yeah.
That's not even relationship romanticism. Romanticism talks about the individual. It's associated with an art movement back in the 1800s that is more about almost like, I want to say, like romanticism is almost like dreaming, like being a dreamer.
Oh yeah, like trying to make everything look beautiful and wonderful in a way, like trying to fantasize
Almost like
about the
fantasize.
reality,
Yes.
trying to make the reality feel better. It wasn't that much about love between a couple, but more about love towards everything else that was happening around.
An ideal, and specifically nature. It seems that nature is something that there's a romance between the man and nature in romanticism. Just quickly here, a quick definition. It says romanticism was characterized by its emphasis on emotion and individualism, as well as glorification of all the past and nature, preferring medieval art over the classical. It was partly a reaction to the Industrial Revolution. So the fact that in the 1800s, I guess, there was an Industrial Revolution, and society started getting busier and more work-related and more city and urban related, and I guess capitalist and things like that. I guess that drew people to be more romantic in art.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, that it was like a breakthrough from being so focused on maybe science and everything that is empirical,
Right.
towards something more emotional
Yes.
and sentimental.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not an art historian, but Wikipedia helps, and
Yeah.
I'm getting the picture. I'm getting the gist of what romanticism probably the movement was.
Yeah, and I mean, these definitions and ideas we have also is because when we go to school and we study, it doesn't matter if it's literature or arts, and you study those different periods, everything is like a breakthrough. When it had been going for a long time, people needed like a break.
Kind of like pushing back against what was going on at the time with the social sciences and the natural sciences. So as society was trying to learn more and categorize more about nature and the world around us, there was a movement of artists trying to romanticize nature and bring it back. They were trying to go against that conservatism, of looking at the world around them. yeah, I was hoping that I was going to find a definition that was going to talk about romantic art being something about couples, because I just imagined that. Because when you think about romantic art, you think about romantic music and romantic movies.
Right.
So that's where I think this conversation is gonna fork out into branch out in a couple of different directions. We start with the theme of something romantic, and we end up in romanticism for visual art. I think right now there's a romanticism when I say, you know, I'm a graphic artist. I work all day in graphic art, commercial art, you know, graphic design. And then I romanticize graffiti because I make it like that's my free art, right?
Yeah.
That's my time to just go and express myself, and it's uncontrolled and it shouldn't be controlled. You know what I mean? There's a sense of pushback within me, right? A rebellious.
And without thinking about the effort that it takes for you to do it. Like for you is a sense of freedom, but at the same time, it's not that freedom because you are tiring yourself too.
Exactly.
So it's looking at it with a different lens.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess that there's a romanticism there, and I think maybe there is still that movement out there of people who will say, well, you know, look at all the pop art and look at all the modern art and all that, and everything's all like deep and conceptual. I'd rather just be more emotional with my art, or I'd rather be more spontaneous with my art. I don't want to be so tied down to these philosophical or, you know, deep concept, high art concepts.
Yeah.
You know. All right. So that's like romanticism if we look at it that way. If we look for it as far as music, romantic. Usually when I think of romantic music, I think of ballads, and I think of like little piano, like loungy pianos, stringed instruments, guitars, romantic guitar, and things like that. Like nobody says romantic music and they think of a drum or something. They don't really associate a drum with romance, right?
No, yeah.
Romance is usually the melody.
And you think about the high notes and
something light.
Something,
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, in romantic music, I would say ballads, things like that. Not all ballads are love songs. So I did a quick search and I said, well, let me look for love songs, right? Love songs is not going to give you what you want to see. 'Cause I'm sure a lot of the love songs that you see, pop music love songs, you know, you're going to find the typical ones. Whitney Houston, I Will Always Love You.
Right.
Taylor Swift, Love Story. Elvis Presley, Can't Help Falling in Love. Just, you know, Beyonce, Love on Top, Rihanna, We Found Love. You're going to find pop songs because that's what's being marketed as romance in music. Is romantic music is love songs, love pop songs. But I think there is a romantic element to music when even an instrumental can sound romantic if the melody tends to float around and inspire some sort of dream in you, right?
Yeah.
I guess that's part of it, the dream.
Yeah, it's like very... The sound of the music is very dreamy and it's very... I don't know, it makes you think romantically. When you listen to...
We're really using that word romantic in a broad way, right?
I don't know, I guess it puts you in a mood that is more towards thinking about maybe love, and it doesn't have to be love with a partner, but maybe like love in general.
Yeah.
It makes your feelings more vulnerable.
The romantic visual to this music would be like a painting of two couples holding each other, or a lonely woman somewhere like staring off into the sunset, you know, things like that are supposedly romantic. That's the painting that would go with the romantic music,
right?
Or a couple dancing or holding each other, whatever. But that's very commercial. That's a commercial concept of romance, I guess.
Yeah, that's what we have been sold.
Yeah,
and that's what we think.
Let's go through the list first, and then we'll talk about what is our memories of a romantic song or a romantic movie. When you look at romantic movies tend to be love stories. Yeah, the one that stands out, you know, you have Titanic as a romantic movie. You have Pretty Woman. You have Casablanca. You have When Harry Met Sally. You have The Notebook. The Notebook is a classic one.
Yeah, The Notebook is like...
That's everybody.
Yeah.
You have Dirty Dancing. You have Brokeback Mountain. That's a new one which deals with a homosexual relationship, but that's a new one to that category. When that came out, that was 2005. But that is a love story. I mean, when you watch it, whether you are gay or not, you definitely feel the romance in it. It's it's got a romantic element. It's got two people longing for something, dreaming for something that they can't have. I mean, it's also man and nature also, because they're up in nature, but I'm just making a connection. In old 80s ones, Say Anything, Sleepless in Seattle, got some really old ones here, but Eternal Sunshine for the Spotless Mind. That's a great example of what I would consider a romance, but it's got a twist and it's weird and it's like not necessarily.
That's a crazy.
It's not a romance. It's not a love story like you would consider a real love story, but it is a romance movie. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. But yeah, so I guess when you look for romantic movies, you end up again with a lot of the Hollywood stereotype. They have Before Midnight on here for that. That's a really good one.
That's a romantic movie.
It's a romantic movie that has a lot of ups and downs. Yeah. They're associated, usually when you think of romantic movies, you think of foreign films. People have always associated with foreign films, but all I'm seeing here on these lists are American films.
Yeah.
But you do associate it more with like a foreign film.
I mean, but I'm a little bit younger, and the movies that I used to watch that they were American and that it was like my style, it was like romantic comedies.
Rom-com.
They are a fairy tale. All the stories, like the Princess Diary, they're such a fairy tale. They present the story so simple. The couple falls in love, and then they have like some kind of trouble, but then they go back together, and at the end everybody is happy.
Yeah.
I feel that it created an ideal in young girls about romance and the way it is that is not true. And then when you get hit with reality, it's like, oh.
Like almost like a fairy tale, like the old Disney fairy tales like that.
Yeah, like the princess movies and all that.
I know. I mean, I'm seeing here also Punch Drunk Love, which is a crazy movie. It's a great movie, actually. I think that's a really well done movie. But Punch Drunk Love is under romance, and it is kind of like a romance, but it's got other elements also in it. When I think of romantic movies, I think that the best ones are the ones that make you feel for the journey of the two people trying to find each other. And even if at the end they aren't able to be together, you still feel that romance.
Right.
And I think it's that dream of being together that creates that romance in the movie, and that makes it that longing and that daydreaming. And I guess it still ties into the original definition that we found for romanticism, which is this escape and this kind of like leaving the norms and the conventions.
Yeah.
All right, but then another element to this romantic stuff, romantic movies, romantic music, romantic visual art, is that it can end up involving two people and it ends up involving sex. So you end up with erotic movies. There's a part where when you talk to people and you say romantic art, they will also make the leap into, you mean erotic art? Because they assume that it leads into erotic art.
Yeah.
So when I think of erotic art, I mean, there's a good example, the artist Egon Schiele. He was a protege of Gustav Klimt. And Egon Schiele, his style is very twisted. Like his cartoony style, because it's all very warped and the figures, everybody looks very uncomfortable, right? But it is erotic because everybody's like naked and in an uncomfortable, but in a almost like you're spying on them kind of way.
Yeah.
And I know that it was controversial. His art was always controversial because of the nudes and everything. But when I think erotic art, and somebody says erotic art, like visual art, this guy's stuff pops into my head right away, because I guess it's just the fact that it's erotic art that makes me a little uncomfortable.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not erotic art like porno. It's erotic art like, yes, it is erotic. I don't know. Something about it is erotic, and yet it's not so attractive.
Yeah.
You know
because
what I mean?
I just saw some pictures of his pieces, and he's not making the perfect body and the perfect body naked, or the perfect body naked touching themselves or anything. It's just a weird type of body,
Right?
like without a real form.
Yeah, Egon Schiele. You guys look him up. Egon Schiele. He's an example of erotic art that it stayed in my head. That I'm sure, I've seen exhibits of his and all that. And I'm sure that his legacy is gonna continue. But it's not pornographic. But at some point, people felt it was pornographic.
Yeah, I was going to say that I understand why people might confuse or jump from romantic art into erotic art, and it's because, like, when we have gone to the museums and we see all these figures, they're naked, like the sculptures and the paintings, they're naked female bodies,
right?
But for me, that's more romantic art, because they're in a position, and their shape and the way that they're on the paintings is so beautiful that they look pretty, but they don't look erotic.
Yeah, they're like dreamy. Yeah, like I would associate the erotic art that I'm talking about from Egon Schiele. If I was gonna make the jump over to erotic movies, I would associate it with a movie called Secretary, and that's from 2002. Secretary is kind of like the precursor to 50 Shades of Grey.
50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah. It's the good version of 50 Shades of Grey. It came before 50 Shades of Grey. But Secretary is a movie that has romance in it. To a certain extent, it's a love story in a way. It is a love story. And it's also got a sense of weirdness.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's got elements that can make you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But it's all, if you look at the story objectively, just like, from a third person, from an outside perspective, you just look at this lifestyle that they're portraying, you can understand where this is a love story, and you can understand how this is a story about two people finding each other, two people that are meant to be together finding each other. Other movies that you see here under the title of erotic, you have the old movies like Wild Orchid and Body of Evidence, Fatal Attraction, which already right there tells you it's erotic, but it's a thriller, it's a drama,
right?
Ending up in a horror. You have Irreversible as an erotic movie, which Irreversible is a tragic movie. You have Eyes Wide Shut, which is not romantic.
Not at all.
At all. And it's erotic, sort of, I guess. It has a lot of nakedness in it, and a lot of sex, but
I think it's more
weird.
about the fantasy that you have, because the way that the movie is shot is all like magical realism style, where everything is happening in reality, but that world that he is becoming part of and that he went into without knowing he was going into it, feels like it's out of the reality that he's living, because they mix a lot his real life with the wife and the child, and then he's going into this crazy place, and somehow they are both connected. So
Eyes Wide Shut is definitely one that it's still in the pop culture now. People still talk about a lot. All right. So, I mean, for you, what was a romantic? If I say romantic art to you, what do you imagine? What pops into your head?
Well, more than anything, music, songs. When I was growing up, it was Luis Fonsi, the Despacito guy. Back in the day when he started.
He was romantic.
He was
ballads?
Romantic ballads. Shakira, she was one of the first romantic, because she had ballads and rock and soft songs. And then now Cani Garcia, which is a Puerto Rican songwriter and singer, and Paula Alborán, a Spanish singer.
His stuff is good. I like his stuff.
Like I always liked those type of songs. Oh, Sin Bandera also. Sin Bandera was a Mexican group made up of Mexican and Argentinian songwriter and singers. and they were like the top in songs that will make you cry and they'll make you feel so emotional. So I always like those type of songs. I don't know why, but yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, love songs. Yeah, I would say romantic art. I would think immediately I would jump to love songs, and movies. And for love songs, I would say, man, like salsa. There's a lot of salsa songs that really get me.
Yeah.
You know, like that they make me tear up.
Yeah.
If I really, really pay attention to the lyrics, I get really choked up more than any American or English ballad. You know, if it's in Spanish, it just gets me in the feels. And I mean, as far as ballads, I know that like some of the romantic singers like Seal, you know, he did some really good songs back in the day, and Sting, like that kind of jazzy voice and that kind of tone definitely puts me in that mind frame, that, you know, that sentimental, you know, mind frame.
Yeah. Well, one song and singers that I discovered with you, it was Sade.
Sade, right.
Sade, she, like, I didn't know about her, and then I got to know her music and the songs, and I feel like she's not only romantic, but it's also kind of erotic in a way.
Yeah.
The way she sings, the videos, the way she will act on live concerts, live shows. And also there was this the song Comeback. Man, I forgot the singer. I've been wishing out today,
Eddie Vedder.
say. Yeah.
Really?
That song is very sad, but it's a romantic song.
There you go. That's where you cross over from the regular ballads to a song that can feel romantic, because it's touching that emotion that makes you long for something.
Yeah, and I didn't know about that song until you showed it to me, and then I tried to sing it, and I read the lyrics, and I was like, wow, this is very sentimental. And I tried to sing it, and I actually feel very emotional about it.
Yeah. So I guess we both agree that love songs with the word love in it don't always work.
Yeah, no, definitely. It doesn't have to be like that.
Romantic songs don't have to say love, don't have to say corazón.
No. I mean, it can be something more emotional, like into your feelings, maybe an experience, singing about something that happened or that you wish it will happen, but not necessarily has to say love
and I love you and instead of the other. And also, by the same token, romantic movies don't have to have a couple that is like madly in love with each other in order for it to be romantic.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, guys, go fall in love.
Pero si lo estás haciendo todo igual, no tiene ningún color el paso que hace. Separa menos tiempo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2.
All right, culture talk.
Culture talk.
So, what are we talking about this culture talk?
So, we're gonna be talking about Latinos and Latinas being perceived as exotic and sexy and just, beautiful and everything else. Spicy.
Spicy. All right, so we were playing around with this subject because we were talking, when we were talking about stereotypes, we came across this whole thing about the stereotype of the romantic Latino or the spicy Latina and
crazy Latina
and all this kind of stuff. And we were like, damn, that really is a stereotype that we kind of don't realize. Partially, I guess, because a lot of actresses and actors play into it.
Yeah.
They play into the stereotype. So it kind of makes it seem like we're playing along. Even
when they're not in a character for a movie or TV show, when they're acting as their normal selves, they are part of the stereotype because they are actually acting like that.
Yeah. And so, I mean, the stereotype, you guys are probably familiar with it. You know, Latinos are romantic, Casanovas, that kind of thing. They'll they come in to a room, the guitar starts to play, and they give you a look.
Yeah, exactly.
Dark-eyed, piercing stare, and they hypnotize you with their look.
And they're straightforward and all that.
And they have the accent, and it's like they sound like they are come to talk to you.
Exactly.
And you're like, what the fuck? So you have the Latino like that, like he's Casanova, and he's Mr. gonna come in, the macho who's gonna come in and sweep you off your feet and steal you away. And then you have the Latina, which is the spicy arriba, wild.
Spicy, crazy, wild. She's good at. Everybody thinks she's good in bed. She's exotic. She's beautiful. She's curvy. She has big tits and perfect body.
But she's uncontrollable.
Exactly.
So you have these two cartoons that can't get along.
Exactly.
That's the thing that is weird to me. It's like you have the stereotype of the Latina, you have the stereotype of the Latino, and because of these stereotypes, they can't get along.
Exactly.
People that are not Latino want that stereotype of the Latina, and people that are not Latino, want that stereotype of the Latino. They want that. Like everybody's seeking for that one person, but they don't want to see the couple together.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like
when they're together, they're fighting. It's always like they're fighting and they're crazy, and he's trying to control her, and she's like, and oh my God, they're so hot, they're so passionate, they're fighting,
and it makes no sense. And
these are all cartoons. We're talking about cartoon stereotypes.
Yeah, exactly. And but then I was reading an article and watching some videos on it, and it was saying like, yeah, how and why are you going to categorize at least the women, all Latino women, to say they are all exotic and sexy and they are crazy and wild, when all women are different? And you're talking about Latinos, which are made up more than 30 plus countries.
Yeah.
So how can you categorize all of them under this one definition? And then I was reading in another article that it said, in every definition of exotic, you might find they all refer to places, animals, plants, or things. Calling women exotic reduces us to something strange, animalistic, savage. It reduces us to less than human. It's dehumanizing. We are not things. Furthermore, exoticism is something that is applied to women for their looks only. You don't hear someone being called exotic because they act a certain way. So basically, what's trying to say that calling a Latina woman exotic or sexy is not a compliment. It's just trying to say that because you look different than all the other women here, you are exotic, and that's it.
Right, so it's not a compliment, it's like a category.
Exactly.
It's like putting you in a category instead of a compliment.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking up stuff for this conversation, and I saw an article that was talking about, the title was The Problem of the Latina Sex Symbol in Hollywood, and it had Sofia Vergara as the main photo, and then under there they had the Devious Maid girls. And, it talks about how Latinas, specifically Latinas, are in there was some sort of survey done, some sort of like research, and that they found that they were the most exploited in TV and film.
Right.
In the numbers, the report found that 36.1% of Latina characters were depicted as sexualized attire. More than any of the other,
of course,
races or subdivisions or whatever. So, that's a big percentage. And that out of those, they were saying 37.5% of the Latina characters were depicted partially or fully naked, compared to the other categories, which was 31% for white women, 23% for black women, Asian women was 18%,
right, and
other races were 21%. So the biggest share of the females being portrayed this way as sexual objects were Latinas. And I mean, maybe this was okay. Maybe this was okay when it was one or two characters on TV doing this, but when it becomes a stereotype that now that's all they want to see of a Latina is that spicy, hot, half naked or fully naked sexual creature that, you know, if they're writing a story and they say, well, we need so Tom breaks up with Susan and then he goes out and meets a woman at a bar, let's make her Latina.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like things like that where they use them as, you know, or the woman goes on vacation.
Right.
You know, she's getting away from her husband. She has had enough with that husband. And who does she find?
A Latina.
Jose. You know what I mean? And already by I say Jose, it's like you already hear the guitars playing and all the shit. That is a problem. Yeah. And maybe it's okay if it's one or two, because you would be like, ah ha ha, that's funny. But when it's all the majority of it, then you're kind of like, damn, what's the problem here? What's going on? Now, for myself, I know that there's been some times in my lifetime that I've felt like I've been in a certain company of people that I've realized that I'm being kind of talked to like some sort of Latin,
right?
You know, guy. You know what I mean? Like the Latin guy, and they're assuming that, you know, especially in a group of women, that I'm the Latin guy that knows how to do the dancing and knows how to do the romancing and knows how to do the guitars and this, that, and the other. And you know, it wasn't anything wrong. I'm not saying this is my Me Too moment. I'm not like, I wasn't offended, but I did feel it, and it did feel if it came to my consciousness, it's because I was feeling a little awkward about it. Of course. And it was like, wow, okay, so this is a real thing. People who are not Spanish that I might meet they might have that in their head, you know, these assumptions. If it was like that for me, I imagine Latina women are feeling it all the time. Yeah. Because if I came across that feeling in my lifetime, and I'm not, for anybody who doesn't know me personally, I'm not 6'5", you know, tall, dark, and handsome with muscles and all that.
But you are handsome.
But I'm not the guy that just gets stopped in the street. No. You know, people are not falling over to talk to me. So if at some point in my lifetime, a few times, I have felt that, you know, and I would say in the company of American women that are like, you know, they just want to play into the stereotype and talk to me as if I'm part of that stereotype. You know, I can imagine what Latina women must feel in that kind of company if they're surrounded by American men. You know, that they might get played into like that, and they might start making jokes and be like, oh, the little hot tamale, the little hot this and the little hot that. And I can imagine that if you might play along with it until you realize, oh shit, I'm trapped in this thing now. And no matter what I do, they're not going to see me any other way. I might as well just get out of this conversation, because they're not going to see me in any other way. Right. That is the only way they see me in this conversation. Yeah. And I think that could be a problem. It's not the end of the world, but it's an obstacle, and it could be a problem, and it's a reason for us to have a conversation about this, right? I don't know if you've ever felt like that.
Yeah, I mean, I work in retail, and more now that I've been working in a men's department for
forget about it.
A year now. I actually didn't notice this until I started working in a men's department. I work in shoes and suits, so I obviously have to help them. And I don't know, they start with you speak Spanish. Oh, where are you from? And all this. And I'm like, well, and I'm very serious when I'm working, because I'm not here to be your friend. I'm just here to give you your shoes, buy them, goodbye, that's it. And so I've felt it, and I feel like it's very uncomfortable, because I understand that maybe you just want to be friendly, but you have to understand I'm here to work, and I don't want to be friendly with you because I don't know you, you're a stranger. And it's so obvious that it's just because I look different, because they don't know they don't have a definition for me right away. So they're trying to get to that point, but I don't care that you don't have a definition for me. Why you asking me these things? Yeah. And then it's the same thing, like you start to feel a little bit uncomfortable, because you're like, well, what am I supposed to do? I just keep working and doing what I have to do. But it is a little bit, it's not that easy.
Yeah. Is there some truth to it? And where does this probably come from? Why are Latinos and Latinas seen as like, the center of this romantic story for the American culture?
Right.
Where is this coming from that they imagine Latino, romantic, or romance is Latino? We've seen it even in Bollywood movies, in other cultures. Like in Bollywood movies, when they have a romantic scene, they'll flip to a Spanish. All of a sudden, they'll have Spanish music playing. And you're like, what the fuck? I'm watching an Indian movie this whole time. It's been Bollywood. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, because there's a romantic scene about something and they want to introduce the Casanova character, they bring on the Spanish music.
It's true.
Same thing in Asian movies. Asian movies also, like, they'll have something going on, and all of a sudden, because they want to make a little joke about something being romantic or sexy or whatever, bring on the mambo music or whatever. Yeah. Sex in the City. Sex in the City had the Latin theme song in the beginning. And it was like, I remember the first time I saw it, and I saw the Latin theme song that turned me off completely.
Right.
I remember the first time that I was introduced to that. And I remember when it was hot at the time, the show, that women around me were like, oh, Sex in the City and this and the other and blah, blah. And when I first finally got to see like a beginning and the intro with it, I was like, oh, they're into that stereotype. They're into that like sex and Latina and this and hot and
exactly
romantic.
Yeah.
Sweep me away.
And craziness too.
Take me away from my boring American life. You know what I mean? And that maybe that goes into that definition that we found on Wikipedia about escapism.
Right.
Romanticism. But I mean, so there is some truth to the fact that we in the Latin culture we nurture romance.
Yeah,
we try to,
and
right?
It's very like an ideal. Is idealized.
Yes.
Love, whatever is companionship, couples, friendship. But that's the thing, like, it's not just couples. I feel like it's friendship, it's family. It's more than just love towards your partner.
Right.
It's love towards the community more than.
Yeah. So there's some of that. There's a certain amount of I think also another part of the romanticism in Latino culture that maybe people misinterpret into romanticism like sexual is the escapism, the dreamer mentality. We definitely nurture spontaneity and instinct over education, unfortunately, and things that are scientific. Like we do tend to nurture that almost in the modern times it could be a negative, but we tend to nurture this like, oh no, do it with your instincts, do it with your passion, do
what you feel like.
And that's part of romanticism versus classicalism. Classicalism is more science and foundation based, while romanticism is more do it with your intuition. Do it with your passion, do it from your instincts,
right?
So I mean we nurture that.
And also, like, we say hello with a kiss and we hug each other,
because you never know when you're gonna see them again. We greet each other like, I haven't seen you in 50 years.
Exactly.
And I say goodbye like, I'll never know if I'm going to see you again. Like the end of a love song. I might not see you again, so give me a hug.
Exactly.
Bring it in.
But I think, and you see it a lot in movies, when they portray a Latino, they always do this exaggerated thing that when they are saying hello to a stranger, they go straight and give them a kiss and say hello like that, and it's not like that. Like,
it's not that exaggerated.
They also exaggerate our
culture,
customs, and that's how the stereotypes comes up.
It's true. I mean, on the side of eroticism, because we were talking about that earlier, man, it really bothers me that there's all these categories in porn. That's like, I've seen documentaries on this stuff, and I'm just like, porn is like one of the last places where racism is okay.
Right.
Like it's acceptable to call out people by their race.
Right.
And to use stereotypes and all these things.
Yeah.
And that's another place where like Latinas are really exploited like badly. You know, because it's, you know, I mean other races as well, but you know, if we're talking about Latinos right now, like that's a place where it's really exaggerated. And
you have to look a certain way. And if you don't,
the stories that they play and the mix and matching of people and
it's a lot.
Yeah. But all right, but yeah, so across the board, from romance, eroticism, everything, yes, there's a lot of bad stereotypes out there. It does come from some sort of foundation.
It started in our own countries. I remember when I was back in Puerto Rico when I was younger, there was a show that it was called No Te Duermas, or Don't Fall Asleep, and it was usually at 10 p.m. And it was a guy, and he had the show, right? And usually he'll had different girls. And in the summer, the girls will be in bikinis, but with G-strings and everything.
That's
and everybody will be looking at them and blah, blah, talking about them. Then on the regular time, he still will have girls with like super, super short skirts showing their booty and showing all the body. So I feel like it starts in our own countries because that's the way women are seen in our countries, and obviously that's the way then they're seen here, and the women that come here, they play into that stereotype, and that's why it becomes
a bigger thing. Yeah. And like I said, I mean, maybe in moderation, maybe a little bit here, a little bit there, you wouldn't notice it, but because it's gotten so major, that's why there's so many articles and things about it. In American culture, like growing up, I remember Charro was like a big cartoon of the Latina.
Right.
Cuchi Cuchi, she would come out and be like Cuchi Cuchi. She would play guitar and dance and talk and hug everybody and kiss everybody and talk all crazy. Now Sofia Vergara is another example of that. I mean, as far as like Latina sex symbols, you know, right? I think right now the one that is gonna be forever a sex symbol is gonna be J-Lo. Who, even if her music isn't that great, she has ups and downs. She'll have a hit, then it'll go away, then it'll come back, then it'll go away. Like, she'll have her time periods.
Yeah.
But every time she comes out, people say she looks flawless.
Yeah.
Every time she comes out, people say, you know, whether it was 20 years ago or now, people are like, God damn, like she looks great.
Yeah.
And that's incredible.
And even more now, because now she's 40-something and she still looks like she's 20.
I think we're all waiting to see the day that she hits the wall, and then we're gonna be like
exactly.
But I'm gonna be curious how she handles that, because that's part of her claim to fame, is that she's the I don't know if she's exotic, she's just the beauty, the Latina beauty.
Yeah, she's like
you know, I don't know if I would describe her as exotic. She plays exotic. She plays into trying to be exotic, because she does the makeup and the wardrobe to be exotic.
Yeah. But I feel like she is goals. That's what we call goals. And more, but you see, that set like a bar to Latina women and more Latina young women to say, no, by the age of 40, I have to look like J-Lo, because if I don't look like J-Lo, then blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Well, I mean, there's something to that. There's the Latin fountain of youth.
Yeah.
Right? There's something there that is a stereotype that when you look around, there is a lot of us that look really young for our ages.
Yeah, true.
So, I don't know. But, all right. And then Latino men, as far as sex symbols.
I mean, yeah, I've seen like Latino men seen as they're like the prince, or the guy that he's very good. He's a very good man. Like he's always giving, or you know, like something like that.
That's a good stereotype. That's not a bad stereotype.
No, but
out of all the stereotypes, that's actually a decent one. Yeah. What about actors though?
Well, we have Gael Garcia Bernal, which he has been, I think
He's Mexican, right?
he's Mexican.
Yeah.
And he has been in movies like The Motorcycle Diaries and others.
I feel like he always plays the noble Latino.
Noble, but also not noble, but like hippie too.
Yeah,
Like hippie, free spirit
the free spirit. Yeah.
type of Latino, which everybody loves, apparently. But yeah, I feel him. And then Antonio Banderas,
He's always played the stereotypical
El Zorro.
Casanova. Yeah. Oh, yeah. What more? What do you want more than Zorro?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then he was also in,
Salma Hayek wasn't that? She was in the Zorro.
I think so. He was also in Spy Kids, right? Antonio Banderas.
Yes.
He was the dad.
Yeah. He was in Spy Kids. Yeah.
And he was kind of like the perfect dad also, like the perfect dad, perfect husband in that movie,
Yeah.
Spy Kids.
But yeah, Antonio Banderas always plays the freaking hot-tempered, the typical cliche Latino role.
And he's always with his accent. And
with his
everything.
accent and everything. Yeah.
And even...
He's an actor. He should be able to drop the accent.
Exactly. And even in Shrek, they put him in the Cats in Boots.
Puss in Boots.
Puss in Boots.
That's right.
And
Plays Puss in Boots. That's a stereotype of
the character is all like flirty, and his accent and everything, his personality is very Spanish. Casanova.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's that cartoon.
Yeah.
It's that cartoon.
And then Javier Bardem.
That's right. Yeah. He has an odd look.
Yeah, he looks crazy.
He looks odd, but stands out for me is that movie Vicky Cristina Barcelona.
Oh yeah.
That is with Javier Bardem, Penelope Cruz, and Scarlett Johansson. And it's this whole love triangle with Javier Bardem being the typical Spanish guy, and he's like an artist. And he's passionate, and he has this ex. I don't know if you remember that, the ex-wife or something like that.
That they live
she's
together
crazy.
or something like that.
And that's the cliche right there. Vicky, everybody go see it if you haven't seen it. Vicky Cristina Barcelona. Watch that movie.
She's Spanish, he's Spanish, he's free spirit, she's crazy, and then he has a new girlfriend.
And then Penelope Cruz and Scarlett Johansson jump into that world, and they hit a wall with this Latin stereotype.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I guess Latinos are sexy, and that's all that is to it, huh? No, I mean Latin culture is it's attached to romanticism, and I guess it's just a matter of managing it so it doesn't get out of control, right?
Exactly, and then just don't generalize.
You wanted me to teach you, right? This is street reality.
Hablando español, Carla.
Hablando español. How do you say romance?
Ooh, that's tricky. Romance could be, puede ser romántico o no sé.
Romance.
Romance is romance.
And it's written the same way.
Romance. Okay. Romance, and then romántico is romantic. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Move on to the next word.
Romantic.
You always do this. You say a word and you give me a variation on the word instead of just give me a new word.
Romantic.
Romántico. Carla, don't be a spicy hot Latina. Please relax.
How do you say couple?
Couple, pareja.
Yes. How do you say romanticism?
Romanticismo.
Oh, wow.
See, I got that.
Oh, congrats.
I got that.
Okay, how do you say ballads?
Ooh, ballads. Ballads are baladas. No.
Yeah.
All right, what's the next word?
Okay, how do you say dream?
Dream. Ooh, sueño.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yo sueño contigo.
What?
How do you say love story?
Love story is cuento de amor.
Or historia de amor.
Historia de amor. All right, got you.
How do you say erotic?
Erotic is erótico.
Yes.
Thank you.
How do you say alago?
Alago. What?
Alago.
What's alago?
Compliment.
Alago is compliment? I didn't know the word in Spanish. I didn't even know I never even heard that word.
There's another word for it, but alago is a compliment. Halagar.
Alago, halagar.
Yes.
Wow, I've never heard that word before in my life. Alago.
Good.
I guess nobody's ever given me an alago. So alago is compliment.
Yeah. How do you say exotic?
Exotic is exótico. Exótico.
Yeah.
All right. Exotic. Exótico.
And then how do you say, I guess, sex symbol? And that's my last one.
Sex symbol? I don't know. Algo.
Yeah, it's a literal translation.
How do you say it?
Símbolo sexual.
Símbolo sexual. But do people use that in the way we use it here in English media? In English media, we use sex symbol constantly. Top 10 sex symbols, the sex symbol of the year, sex symbol. Like you hear that phrase used in newspapers, TV, online, everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Sex symbol. Do you guys, in Spanish language?
Sometimes it's used, to describe the same way. Like a person that is a sex, es un símbolo sexual o un... Yeah.
They use that, símbolo sexual?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that sounds more sexual than it does in English.
I mean, because it depends who uses it. Like, they're not using it blandly like in English.
Right.
Like
Yeah, in
for
English,
special occasions.
What? In English, it's used like sex symbol is used like, you know.
Like house.
Yeah, like it's a handsome man or a handsome woman is a sex symbol.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of like, no, you're literally saying a symbol of sexuality, of sex.
Exactly.
But when you say it in Spanish, it sounds like, whoa, it's too much. Símbolo sexual, it's like an icon of sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, you learned something. You know, just one more point.
Yeah.
It's funny how we were talking about how Latin culture and sexuality or romance in Latin culture. Well, the language, we do the Hablando Español section.
Yeah.
A lot of times in the Hablando Español section, I realize how some words that are spelled the same but pronounced with the Spanish accent suddenly have a more romantic or fluid element to it.
That's true.
And that's another thing that maybe ties this whole episode together to here at the end with the Hablando Español is that the language, the Latin language being a romance language, we forgot to mention romance language.
Exactly.
The shape of your mouth when you speak, the way you pronounce your words, the way the words roll off, one word off the next, the consonants are soft.
And then
it's more vowel based. It's more, there's a more of a melody, a sing to it.
That's what I was going to say.
That English doesn't have. English tends to be harsher. I guess because it comes more from a Germanic background than a Latin background. So I guess that's another element that it's a positive and it's a negative.
Exactly.
But it's a truth that if you're going to carry along the Latin culture with the Romance languages, it's tied into romantic thoughts.
Yes.
All right. Another episode in the bag.
That's right.
All right. Next episode is episode 29, Drawing Spirits. In Art Life, I'm going to talk about the elements of drawing and how do they relate to life.
And on Culture Talk, we're going to be talking about spirituality and belief systems in Latino culture.
And at the end,
Hablando Español.
see you guys next time.